I wanted to talk about how adenovirus vaccines work. I was talking to some family members today. We're talking about the different vaccines, and a lot of questions came up that I think were really good questions. Um, I'm hoping I'm going to get an mRNA vaccine just because that's what is approved right now. Both the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines are approved, and they are being distributed in New Jersey, where I live, even as we speak. So I'm hoping to get vaccinated very soon. So the fact that I may be getting an mRNA vaccine is not a matter of choosing one type of vaccine over another. It's as a healthcare worker feeling that I need to get a vaccine as soon as possible because of my exposure risk. I think potentially adenovirus vaccines will reach more people than the mRNA vaccines because of things like it just being logistically much, much easier to transport. Adenovirus vaccines need to be kept a little bit cold, but not freezing cold and not super freezing cold like mRNA vaccines like the Moderna and the Pfizer. So AstraZeneca and Johnson apparently work similarly. So this is a friend of mine who's an infectious disease physician sent me this New York Times article and said, this is because I have asked a lot of questions about how adenovirus vaccines work. And he said, this is a good article that'll give you, a basic understanding. So I thought we'd go through this. So this applies to this particular article is from the New York Times. They did a really nice job. They have some nice graphics, how the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine works. They also have an article very similar to this about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And you'll see if you pull up both of these articles on the internet, you'll see that they use very similar graphics because the vaccines work in a similar way. Now, neither of these vaccines has been approved by the FDA yet. There's still some questions out there. There's still some things they have to go through, but the thought is that these are very promising vaccines that will be approved soon. And apparently, although adenovirus vaccines for humans are a new type of technology like mRNA vaccines, unlike the mRNA vaccines, there is apparently already an approved adenovirus vaccine out there, approved by the FDA, and that is the Ebola vaccine. Okay, so the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine works by taking this gene from the coronavirus, this particular DNA sequence that codes for the spike protein. There's all different kinds of parts, and there's all kinds of DNA in here. The coronavirus has to make a lot of different parts in order to function. But we're just taking the spike protein, and these are these little things on the outside. So we're taking the spike protein gene, and they took that sequence of DNA, and they put it into an adenovirus vector. Adenoviruses are very common viruses, and this is like a modified virus. It's a chimpanzee virus. I'm not sure what Johnson & Johnson uses, but it also uses a modified adenovirus. The modified adenovirus with a piece of DNA from the coronavirus then is injected into your arm, and it enters into your cell. And the adenovirus injects the DNA into your nucleus. Okay, so it's an actual live virus. The virus is a type that does not cause infection or illness. It might cause some symptoms, but it does not cause infection or illness. It's a live virus, so that means right away you're trying to get pregnant, you're trying to conceive, very unlikely that we will recommend this for you. Just like for all pregnant women and people trying to conceive, we do not want you taking any live virus vaccines. That's currently the case now, like the measles vaccine or the chickenpox vaccine, because those are live virus vaccines. And we say after the measles or the chickenpox vaccine, once you're done with the vaccine series, then you wait 30 days and then it's okay to get pregnant. Whereas the flu vaccine, which is not a live virus vaccine, is okay to get during pregnancy. In fact, highly recommended for pregnancy. The Moderna and Pfizer coronavirus or COVID-19 vaccines are mRNA. They are not live virus. And right now, we are recommending that pregnant women who are at high risk for getting COVID strongly consider getting those vaccines. The Johnson & Johnson and Astra Zeneca vaccines are both live virus vaccines using an attenuated, a weakened adenovirus, weakened modified adenovirus to get this DNA, the coronavirus DNA, into the cell. And those probably will not be recommended for pregnancy, just like any other live virus vaccine. Okay, so this adenovirus infects the cell, and that just means that like it gets, you get the shot, it gets inside your cells. Gets inside your cells and injects the DNA actually into the nucleus. And this is the part where I had a lot of questions. It actually injects it into the nucleus. But this DNA does not incorporate itself into your genome. Okay. And honestly, even if it incorporated it into your genome, very hard for something like this to modify your genetics, because you have like a lot of cells in your body, and really to modify your genetics, every single cell or a lot of your cells would have to be affected. But anyway, the DNA goes into your cell, goes into your nucleus, and then your nucleus has a lot of building blocks in there. It has all these little pieces of RNA, and it sees the DNA, and the DNA gloms onto these building blocks, and out comes some messenger RNA. And the messenger RNA codes for the spike protein, because that's what DNA is supposed to do. It's supposed to direct building of an mRNA, and then the mRNA is supposed to direct building of the protein. So virus goes in, injects the DNA, your nucleus has the building blocks for mRNA, so it sees this DNA sequence and it makes an mRNA. The mRNA then goes out into the cytoplasm, and it makes little spike proteins, little pieces of spike proteins. Your cell then manifests these spike proteins on the surface of the cell, because it's like, oh, what are these things doing in here? We're not a virus. These things, we better put these things out there and signal that there's something going on. So then your immune system looks at these things and says, oh my God, there's like a foreign thing in here, this spike protein, and it reacts. So the immune system reacts, it gets T cells involved, it gets B cells involved. The T cells do T cell mediated immunity, the B cells do B cell mediated immunity, which it means it actually makes antibody. And then the antibodies actually are there in your body. So if you're exposed to coronavirus and it gets in your body, your immune system goes, oh, we've seen this foreign intruder before. We know exactly how to attack it. We already have antibodies. The antibodies will stick to the spike protein. We'll make even more antibodies because we see the actual virus, and it covers the virus. And then your body knows to like get rid of the virus. So it kills the cells and gets rid of it. So, and there's more stuff here about, very interesting. So this is both the New York Times article, and there's two articles, very similar but different, related to specifics of these two vaccines. But both vaccines, the Oxford AstraZeneca and the Johnson & Johnson vaccines, are both adenovirus vaccines. And this is a very helpful, from the New York Times, nice explanation of how it works with all these cute pictures of cellular machinery. Um, AstraZeneca probably will be approved before the Johnson and Johnson, but they're both in this fast track for very promising vaccines that we're going to try to get out very quickly, hopefully early 2021. Very, very promising because also much will be, or we think they will be, much, much easier to handle. Number one, just because of the temperature requirements. DNA is much more stable than RNA. It's much stronger and doesn't require super frozen conditions in order to retain its potency. So it can, that makes the logistics of transporting it and getting it out there to all over the world will likely be much, much easier. So we're really looking forward to these vaccines coming out. But because they are live virus, if you're trying to conceive, if you get these vaccines, we will probably ask you to wait after getting the vaccine. The Johnson and Johnson is exciting because it's one shot. AstraZeneca is 2 shots. After getting your last shot of the vaccine, you'll probably have to wait. Typically, live virus vaccines, they ask you to wait 30 days before conceiving. I'm not sure what the recommendation will be, and we may not have a lot of data on that to start with. So we really do not know. The mRNA vaccines are different. They are out now. They have emergency use authorization now, Moderna and Pfizer, and those are mRNA vaccines, and those are okay to get if you're trying to get pregnant or you're pregnant. But because there's no data on pregnant and lactating women, although we want you to encourage you to think about getting the vaccine because COVID-19 affects pregnant women more severely than non-pregnant women, we want you to talk to your doctor because that's an individualized decision. So I wanted to share this information because I now know a little bit more about adenovirus vaccines, and I hope this will be helpful to you too. And, I'm sure we'll be talking more. So hope this was helpful. Take care.